Okay, before we start this episode, I'm going to propose a question for you, like I do every episode now.
Yeah.
Something to think about while we're recording. So, what was the best thing to bring on a long road trip as a kid to keep yourself entertained in the backseat?
Easy.
We'll come back
but I'll
later.
tell you later.
Give you time to think about it. You might change your answer. You never know.
That's true.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters because this podcast takes tokens.
All right, welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. You are all tokened in the head. We are 2 minutes into this token podcast, and you want to bail out? Well, I'll tell you something. This is no longer a podcast. It's a quest. It's a quest for fun. Yes. I'm going to have fun. You're going to have fun. We're going to have so much token fun. We're going to need plastic surgery to remove our token smiles. You'll be whistling zippity doodah out your token. We have to be crazy. We're on a pilgrimage to see a moose. Praise Marty Mouse. Marty Moose. Whatever. It was a fun. Enjoy that.
Oh, that's great. I had that in my notes. A quest for fun.
Yes. I was rewatching it. I thought that's my opener right there. I'm just going to rewrite that.
Gosh,
that's going to be my opener.
That is fantastic. Oh.
Yep. So if you didn't get it from the intro, we're talking about the 1983 classic Vacation, starring the great, probably one of the greatest physical performers of the 80s, if not of our time, Chevy Chase as Clark Griswold, along with the stunning Beverly D'Angelo as his wife Ellen, with a young Dana Barron and Anthony Michael Hall playing their children, Audrey and Rusty, respectfully. Vacation is, at its simplest, a movie about family embarking on a cross-country road trip to visit a popular theme park, Wally World in this case, taking the place of Disneyland. They are joined by a who's who of ragtag 80s comedy scene actors, including Brian Doyle Murray, John Candy, Eugene Levy, Randy Quaid, and in their first movie credit, Jane Krakowski. This movie was released July 29th, 1983. Vacation has a runtime of 98 minutes, a solid runtime, par for the course for comedies of the time. Usually coming in about 90 minutes. Yeah. So Vacation's right there. Vacation cost an estimated $15 million to make and grossed over $60 million at the box office. So I'd say it was a success. If this didn't indicate that to you, I think the 5 sequels they did should tell you this was a pretty successful movie. It did receive a well-earned R rating from the MPPA MPAA. So if you're thinking about watching this with your children, I advise you don't. This is not a movie for kids. This is a movie for adults. It's a National Lampoon movie after all. And thanks to this movie earned its R rating thanks to the lack of a PG-13 rating at the time and Clark's shenanigans with the young lady in the Ferrari. But we'll get back to that later. For now, how'd you enjoy the movie? Did you rewatch it this week?
I did. It is just absolutely fantastic. I love this movie so much. Let me tell you, this has the best movie theme song of all time.
Probably, yeah.
It is.
You don't think of anything whenever you hear that song, but this movie or any one of these movies, because really this is kind of I think they use that song through all the movies, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yep.
Well, before we get too deep in this episode, I do want to address one thing about this movie. This movie is a product of its time, and it shows. There's sexism, racism, offensive behavior galore. Modern day is ashamed of this movie for so many reasons that 80s movies give us. But while we don't condone the behavior and we know better in today's day in life, just know that we didn't make the movie, so don't add us for it.
Right.
We enjoyed it. That's all I'm going to say.
We did enjoy it. We enjoyed it for just
for
what
better
it
or
is.
worse.
Yeah, for better or for worse. Yeah, but you're right. It really is. It is a product of its time with a lot of
definitely for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the pictures in the beginning of this, I just wanted to touch on real quick. There was one of a big green dinosaur.
Yes.
I seem to remember going to that.
Oh, really?
And I thought you were with us.
I don't know. It did look familiar. I don't know, but I've seen like the big green dinosaurs like that in several locations before.
Yeah.
And I know, like, especially like up there, you got like the Sinclair dinosaur like everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see. And then I know I've seen that elephant somewhere before. If it wasn't on like a travel blog, I don't think I've seen it in person. I think I saw it on like a travel blog. But there's like a gift shop up inside of it. I know that much.
Yes.
Yeah. But the intro to this, I really enjoyed like all the little postcards of all the different roadside attractions and everything. That was kind of fun. It was a fun little intro for it.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was. Yeah.
So yeah, like this movie has several sequels out there. Have you seen any or all of the sequels? I mean, obviously Christmas Vacation. Who hasn't seen that one?
Oh yeah, classic. I've seen European Vacation once, I think.
Okay.
And then really the one that I watched the most because I could watch it without any trouble was Vegas Vacation, which watching them now as an adult, that's the weakest one. But that one, I think, earned a PG rating, so it was easier for me to watch that and not have to worry about the parents not approving of what I was watching. So
I don't think I've seen that one. I don't think I've seen that one or European.
It's got a few funny parts in it. I don't remember anything about European Vacation. I know I watched it once, maybe on like Turner Classic Movies or something. But Vegas has a few funny parts in it, but as a whole, it's just a lot of the jokes just fall flat.
I heard it was one of the worst.
Yeah. The only part that I can really remember that was funny was when they were him and Cousin Eddie, Clark and Cousin Eddie are at a buffet, and there's like some blue meat, like literally blue meat, and some yellow meat, and there's a sign that says chicken in the blue meat. And blue meat. Clark's like, are you sure that's chicken? And the guy looks at him and he's like, oh, you're right. This one's chicken. And then he puts it in the yellow, and then he puts the beef thing in the blue one. And then Eddie's like, well, I'll have some of the yellow. I don't know. The way it's delivered is just really funny, but that's about the only funny part I remember from that movie. Yeah.
So this movie starts with Clark rolling into the dealership to trade in the car, which he gets royally screwed on. But I mean, just like I need more information. This one hurts my head a little bit. He rolls in and says, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up my new car that I ordered." And the guy's like, "Okay, well, here it is." And he shows him this other car, and he goes, "Well, that's not the car I ordered." But somehow ends up walking out with this obviously cruddier car that he did not order. Is this just the way car dealerships were at the time, or is this just a caricature of car dealers? I don't have a history of car dealerships.
So two things from that scene. One, and it's just a movie mistake that I noticed and I wanted to mention.
Oh, okay. I love movie mistakes.
they're in Chicago. They live in the Griswolds live in Chicago.
Yeah.
As him and Rusty are driving up to the car dealership, if you look in the distance, you can see the palm trees of Los Angeles.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say is Eugene Levy as the car salesman.
Perfect.
He is just comedy gold. Any role he does is just so good. I love that guy. He's a great character actor. He's so good. But yeah, like they take his car, and then they're showing him this one. Yeah, like who does that?
Yes,
who does it
instantly?
Yeah, and then they bring it back out. I'm like, all right, bring him his car back out, and then he goes to try to get into it, and he's trying to get into this crushed car, and I think that's like one of the things that this movie excels at. There's a lot of physical comedy in the movie, and but it's
the way that like he just turns around and he's like, well, we'll just get in our car and leave, and you can see that he sees that they pulled this crushed car up next to him, and he still walks over to it as if he's going to be able to like climb in this thing and drive away, and then immediately turns around and it's like, well, I guess we'll go with that car.
Maybe we'll have that.
Kind of and they kind of did it again later whenever they're in Dodge City, and he's giving the bartender a hard time, and then finally the bartender like shoots at him with like the fake shotgun or whatever, and he falls over, and the whole time he's like, hey, yellow belly or lily liver or whatever, give us a drink. And then that scene ends with him going, yes, sir, I'd like a drink, please.
Yes.
It just like he just completely changed tone.
Yeah, he's done.
And it's that delivery throughout this whole movie that really makes it, for sure. Or whenever they're just after this scene, they're sitting in the kitchen and they're cleaning dishes, and she's scraping them off into the sink, and he's turned around, and then as she goes to hand it to him, he turns back around almost in like perfect timing, and he takes it from her and he just wipes it off with the towel and puts it back up in with all the other dishes, and they repeat this several times. And I'm watching it and I'm like, at no point does he turn to face her when she's got food on the plate. It's only whenever she's handing him a plate that is relatively clean. So he's assuming they've been washed, and she's assuming he's washing them, because neither one is seeing what the other one's really doing. Yeah. And it's just that timing. It's fantastic throughout this whole movie, for sure.
Yeah, it really is.
And then like, oh man, the computer in the living room. Like
the Commodore, I think it was a Commodore 64.
Was it a Commodore 64? I don't know. I don't think it was a real computer, because they had like several things like cobbled together there. Yeah. And the controllers that the kids were using looked like what you would do a breathalyzer test on or something. They did not look like gaming controllers. I don't know how those operated. It was like a handle with like a little turn knob on the top of it with no buttons or something. But Atari was just, I mean, what was it? Not Atari. The first, maybe it was the Commodore 64. What's the one in television?
Oh,
there was just like a little knob with a button or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they were going for that.
Yeah. Maybe. I did appreciate though that they actually have real teenagers playing these characters. It's not like if they would make. Well, I haven't watched the remake of this, but like if they make a movie now and they've got teenagers, most of the time it's going to be somebody at least in their early 20s that's playing these people. And Michael C. Hall was, I don't know, him and Dana Barron,
I think he was 15 whenever they were making this.
Oh yeah they were both teenagers, and they were appropriate age, and it makes it not that really this movie can be believable because of all the shenanigans that happen,
but they look right.
Yes, they look right. Yeah,
they don't look like they're aged out or anything like that. Yeah.
If they just would have had one more kid, they could have had Corey Feldman.
They could. Well, I think Corey Feldman could have fit in there as in Rusty's position.
No, he could have. He could have
got Corey in there. I think so.
We need you on the show, Corey. That's anything you want to talk about?
Anything at all. So yeah, the whole movie hinges on them taking a road trip from Chicago to what I'm assuming is Los Angeles area, if they're going for Disney World type of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's like I don't know what the length of the trip is on that. I didn't look at the entire trip, but the thing that I got hung up on is the first day. This one kind of bothered me. Is if you look, because they start in Chicago the first day, and then the second day they're in like Dodge City, right? Which is Dodge City, Kansas. And then whenever he shows the itinerary on the computer, he shows the little square like, okay, this is day 1, and it shows them driving from Chicago to somewhere midpoint or past in Kansas. And if you look at...
Yeah, they're going down to I-70 at St. Louis and then over.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you look at like the map, if you look at like Google Maps today, and you map that out, that's over a 13-hour drive. So he was going to take on a 13-hour straight drive on day 1. That's not including stops for like meals or all the different things that they stop to do along the way. And so 13 hours straight. So the first big stop they do is St. Louis, which is 5 hours away. It's about 5 hours from Chicago. They pull up to St. Louis, and it's daylight out. But then they get lost in downtown St. Louis, and suddenly it's nighttime.
Because they've been driving around for too long. They're lost.
So they've been driving around. It's nighttime now, which I don't know what time that is. But my point is, now they're going from St. Louis to Dodge City, which is over 8 hours away.
Yeah.
What? When are they sleeping? Or is it supposed to? Are we supposed to think that this is like maybe this is 2 days? He just drove through the night. I don't know. That one bugs me. Maybe they stopped somewhere in St. Louis and they just didn't show it.
Yeah. I don't know. But that whole thing, though, that whole St. Louis thing, like when he's asking for directions. And he gives the guy like $10, and he asks him for $5, and he's like, "Well, here's a 10. And he's expecting to get change back. And the guy's like, "All right, you're gonna go down here, and you're gonna turn here, and there's gonna be a guy in a car. Ask him; he'll give you directions. That's my cousin.
Because I'm not from here.
I'm not from around here.
I'm from the West Side, man."
I'm like, that guy knows what he's doing.
That's right. I can respect that hustle.
Yes. And they're like, steal his hubcaps while they're sitting there. It's just...
And then spray paint some graffiti on the back, too.
Yeah.
I didn't catch what that said.
And that stays on the car the rest of the... Yep. I like how anything that happens to the car, they leave it. It's not like it's
the whole
just...
time.
Yeah, yep.
Which I think, like, you see that in some other movies too, like Tommy Boy. They do that too. Like throughout the whole movie, the car's slowly being destroyed, and at the end, it's just like, there's hardly any. It's almost not a car anymore.
Yeah,
but yeah, so they make it all the way to Wally World. I can't imagine they drove that back. You think they just flew straight back? They just abandoned this car?
I think. Well, Ellen says, like, when they get to Wally World and all the stuff happens, she's like, let's just call my parents, they'll wire us the money and we can fly back. Like, she doesn't even care about that car anymore.
I don't think anybody does.
No. But before, I think is it before or after they hit St. Louis, they're filling up with gas. And to me, that was one of the funniest scenes.
Couldn't find the tank.
And he's taking the gas nozzle and he's just tapping
it. Like it's just going to open up or something.
Yeah.
And then I like whenever he looks over and he sees the mother and her son, and they lift up the license plate to get gas, and he's like, "Oh, okay, that's how it works." And he just rips the license plate off, and it goes flying and hits her car.
Yeah. And then Ellen's like, "Clark, I think I found the gas tank." Oh yeah, I knew it was up there, honey. Always. He always knows. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So that whole St. Louis thing, I feel like that was written with that first day of travel they do was written with two things in mind. They wanted to cover as much ground as possible and get the Griswolds further across the country and closer to their goal and closer to just getting to the cousin Eddie and all that. Because, there's not really a whole lot between, in the Midwest to do. Like the stops are few and far between. You got your major cities, but then everything in between is just kind of driving. Unless you live there. And then, you got things there. But I feel like they were writing it in the point to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. And there were some people that maybe thought they had some good urban city jokes that they wanted to work in about, like, whenever they stop at night and stuff like that. And then, was it the first night? He fell asleep that night, didn't he? Right before they pulled him into the hotel room? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ellen's asking him, she's like, hey,
Why don't we pull
it's
over?
getting late. Why don't we pull over? Oh, no, I could drive for another 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then he falls asleep.
He didn't just like kind of like, like sometimes you drive and you'll nod off for just like a second. It's just enough to wake you back up.
Yeah.
He full on the head back, mouth open, snoring. He's hard and out. They go off the side onto side roads, and they're cutting through lawns and pulling through drive-throughs and all sorts of stuff, and nobody wakes up. I can't believe that nobody wakes up for that. You hit that you tap that rumble strip even a little bit on the highway, and everybody in the car is on high alert.
Yeah.
There's no way he made it off the highway hitting that many bumps, and they all slept through it.
Yeah.
Sparky, come back to bed.
Yeah.
And then just pulls into the parking lot and breaks it perfectly.
Pulls right in.
Yes. And that's one of our first good cameos after Eugene Levy. There we got one of the Murray brothers, Doyle, Brian Doyle Murray, Bill Murray's older brother.
Really?
I
didn't realize that. Okay,
that's his older brother.
Okay,
he was also the mayor in A Groundhog Day.
Okay.
From that, yeah.
I didn't realize that was Bill Murray's brother.
That's Bill Murray's brother. He's got a few brothers, yeah.
Okay.
Few brothers. You've probably seen in things too. Yeah.
I probably have. It's kind of like the Howards, like Ron Howard and his brothers. Like you see him,
Clint Howard.
His dad, and then his brother Clint.
Clint Howard.
Yeah.
Who's his dad?
A lot of stuff. What was that movie that he? It's escaping me right now.
Nah, all right.
I can see him.
I'll look it up later.
Yelling at somebody. Oh, when we watched The Burbs, the older man that's yelling and throwing the book at Tom Hanks. He's like, destruction of private property, this and that, and he's telling him all. That's Ron Howard's father.
Oh, like a police officer?
Yeah. He was like the
All right. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and check on that one.
Yeah.
Make some connections there. So they we continue on down. Now we're at Cousin Eddie's, I think, is the first major stop.
This
where we get
ridiculous.
We get Cousin Eddie, who got his own movie later on, by the way. Such a breakthrough character.
Oh, yes.
Which I've never seen Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Christmas or something like that?
I think so.
His movie? I never saw it. It was like a straight to DVD movie.
But it had Randy Quaid in it though, didn't it? Yeah.
And they had the daughter here. We just mentioned her name and it's already escaping my mind. Dana Barron. Yeah, she reprises her role in that movie.
Oh, does she? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She comes back as she's like, if I remember from the trailer, she's like upset about something. I think like divorce or breakup or something like that. And so she goes to, like, he wins like a vacation somewhere, so she goes with him for some reason.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly. But anyways, we're sidetracked. Probably. Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't judge it.
Yeah. But we'll just say it's a straight to DVD movie.
It's straight to DVD, so yeah.
Take that however you want.
Back in the day, yeah. These are early 2000s, late 90s, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways. So so we get to meet Cousin Eddie and their kids and their aunt, and these are all Ellen's side of the family, right? It's
Ellen's
her sister.
It's Ellen's cousin.
Yeah.
And then
aunt.
Yeah. Yes, because
it's got to be her mom. The cousin's mom.
Edna, is Edna her... Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
They don't really explicitly say, and it doesn't
No.
really matter, but I think that's the relationship there. And then they kind of spring it on Clark. Oh, yeah, by the way, Aunt Edna's going to join us for the rest of the trip, who is not a pleasant person.
No. But you remember, like, so they show up there first, and of course, Eddie is like all like, oh yeah, everything's been bad since, they shut the plant down and laid me off. And he's like, you want a cold one? Or no, you want a cool one. It's not a cold one.
You
It's
look
a cool
like you could go
one.
for a cool one, yeah.
And he gives him the beer that he's been drinking. Yes. Clark
And
just kind of
cracks him open
turns
a
it
fresh one.
sideways. Yeah. And then later, when they're in the living room, they're asking him for money, and Edna's like, "Oh, just ask him, Eddie." And he's like, "Well, I could use some money." And Clark's like, "Well, how much do you need?" And he's pulling
starts
the
going
money
through
out of
his
his
wallet.
wallet.
Yeah.
And then $52,000. And then him stiffly pushing the money back in his wallet.
Like, I don't have $52,000 in cash on me, man. Not that I would give it to you if I did.
Yeah.
$52,000, man, that's a lot of money back then.
But they were living off of Aunt Edna's Social Security checks.
Which
and do you
he
remember?
insisted that she continued to send to him after they left, too.
Yes. Don't forget those checks now.
That's right.
Did you catch the part where his daughter is saying that she French kisses?
Yes, God, yes. That was disturbing. Daddy says I'm the best. What?
I'm the best.
What?
That's the worst line in that whole movie.
I had seen that in a meme earlier, like a couple weeks ago. And I think I've only watched this on like cable. So a lot of things have probably been cut out.
Yeah.
And so I caught that on like a meme and I was like, oh, they like re-edited it to sound like funny, or whatever. And then it comes up in the movie and I'm like, oh no, that's the way they shot it.
Yeah.
That's so disturbing.
Audrey's look when she says that, she's just, it's just
All of
so
us.
classic. Like, what?
Yes. The cousins introduced them to, I think, a whole world that they were not ready for.
Yeah.
Like the son walks out with a bunch of like the dirty magazines from his cousin, and the daughter walks away with a bunch of cigarettes, we'll say, from her cousin. And they were definitely changed after their visit with their cousins, I would say, for a while.
And their boy cousin is a complete liar because Rusty asks him, do you have Pac-Man? Like, ask him if he's got games or whatever. And he says no. And then later, when they're in the bedroom, on his bed, he's got a mini arcade cabinet of Pac-Man.
That's Rusty's.
It's Rusty's.
Yes,
Is it?
I caught it earlier in the movie. Like when they first get in the car, you can see it in the background. It's just sitting over his head, like a little, like peeking out. I saw it and I was like, "Oh, that's cool," because like Bruce got like they reproduced them recently.
Yeah, I remember
like
those.
that, and he got one of those. So I was like, "Oh, that's neat. That's like the original one." I forgot that they even did those. But can you imagine? Like, you want to bring a video game with you, and you got to bring like this little like
arcade cabinet,
mini arcade cabinet. Like, what if you wanted? Like, you've got one. You get one, maybe two, if your parents are generous. To bring with you. So you've got one. He's got one game that he's playing this whole time, and it's Pac-Man.
Yep. Yeah. And I would imagine, like, I don't know, but just something about the way that's setting, I would imagine you'd get so car sick using that if you're, I don't know.
And then, like, because you got to rest it on something to get the joystick and the button. Well, it's just the joystick, I guess, so you can hold it in one hand and joystick with the other. Pac-Man didn't have a button or anything like that. How come Pac-Man didn't have a button? I guess he didn't need a button. He didn't need to shoot anything or take on anybody. He was just munching dots. Pac-Man's just a man that's hungry. That's all
right.
he is.
That's right.
And like another thing, so whenever they leave Cousin Eddie's, and then again, whenever they leave their house in the beginning, the whole like neighborhood came together and like waved them off as they left on their vacation. And the same thing at Cousin Eddie's, like everybody came out and they're like on the road, like waving.
Yeah.
Is this something that actually happened in the day? Is this something that people did?
It's a lost art.
It must
don't
be.
know.
I've never had that happen. I've never had the whole neighborhood come out whenever I go on vacation and wave us off.
Yeah.
Although if they did, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah.
What are y'all up to?
Yeah.
I mean, like, speaking of the disturbing parts, let's get it out of the way with the other disturbing stuff. The dog. They tied the dog to the bumper. And at first, I'm thinking, oh, the dog, we're just going to see the dog show up later.
Yeah.
Like, he got off the leash. They're just going to, they're going to give us a quick shot of the dog just, like, somewhere munching trash or whatever.
Yeah.
Nope. The last thing we see of that dog is that leash tied to the bumper. God knows how far down the road.
Well, you hear that the officer says, well, I guess I'll go clean up the carcass off the road. It's that's a hard scene.
That's a hard
scene.
He probably kept up with you for a good mile, 2 miles. Holy crap.
That earlier when they're stopping to eat at the roadside park and they've got their sandwiches out and they're Ellen's passing them all out and then she smells that one and
with
she,
the Ferrari girl.
And she's smelling them and she's like, oh no, the dog wet on these. Right as Clark bites into it, he spits it out. Edna looks down at, she's been like munching away on this sandwich. She looks down on it and just kind of, and keeps eating. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so gross.
You gotta think where she's coming from. She's coming from Gourmet Eddie's, where hamburger helper on the grill is.
I forgot about that.
Did they make the hamburger helper and then form it into patties? Is that how that worked? But all Clark got was a toasted bun. He didn't even get the meat.
No. And his daughter's stirring the Kool-Aid with her hand.
Bear Hayes like, can I give you a hand with that? Let me look. You know what? I'm going to give you a hand with that. He stirs it up. Which, that was, I'm glad I wasn't eating while I was watching this movie.
Oh, it was so bad.
And I think this is the second time that we've seen Ferrari Girl. And he's kind of, flirting with her a little bit, which I got to say, upon rewatch, every time she comes up, and again, I think I've only ever seen this one on cable, so I don't think I've ever seen like the full unedited version of it. What do you call it? Censored version of it or whatever. Until this week. But she comes up a few times, and it isn't until like the last time we see her that somebody else interacts with her. So like the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, is she just an aberration of his of imagination? And I almost think it would have been better if she was just something that he imagined.
Yeah.
Because without that, he's kind of a scumbag.
He is.
I mean, he is a scumbag. He's straight up a scumbag.
He's not a good person.
What is he doing?
Yeah.
How are they still together?
That was one thing I thought that it kind of fell flat on me was when like he meets her at the bar and I'm just like, I don't know. Like she should have just been a figment of his imagination or something like that.
Or like it could have just been like the flirtation from the car. I could have let that slide. Yeah. And then like she never should. Like it's just something that happens from a distance. But as soon as he went up and he engaged with her.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he went into that bar looking because he sat down by a couple of different girls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like he sat down by one girl and he starts chatting her up, and then she kind of clearly has this look on her face like, get away. And so he gets up and he goes over and he starts chatting up this other girl, which the bartender hands him a drink and he's like, yeah, sure, I just sat down. This is clearly what I ordered. And he starts drinking it. And somebody else comes up from behind him and is like, hey, man, that's my seat.
Yeah.
Has him get up, but he takes the drink with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he engages with Christy Brinkley.
Yep.
Which I don't think she had a name. She was just like Ferrari Girl.
Yeah, she was just like Ferrari Girl or something.
Yeah. And this is kind of a reoccurring theme throughout all of the movies. Like he gets inappropriate with another woman at some point or another. Like I think Christmas Vacation, it was more flirtation, but it was definitely like he was over the line. And I don't know, because I never saw the other two. Did in European and Vegas?
I don't remember much about European Vacation. I remember, so she comes back in Vegas Vacation.
Oh, that's
but
right.
They're driving. That's the only time he sees her. But they're on the highway, and he looks and he sees her, and like they're kind of flirting, and then she speeds up, and there's a baby in the back seat, and he like looks at her like, what happened? And then she looks back at him like, sorry, and then she speeds off. But that's kind of how they wrapped the whole thing up. But
yeah, all right.
I don't know.
I'm fine with that.
I thought that part to me was not. And then Ellen, they do a real disservice to her character, because she's just like, all he does is tell her, oh, I don't want to be with her. She's ugly. Like,
right.
And then she buys that, and she's like, oh, okay, well, let's go to the pool. And I'm just like, whatever.
I don't think it's that she buys it. I think she's just like, she accepts that in the pursuit of moving past it. Like, she's like, okay, you've given me this as your excuse. I'm going to buy it. And we're just going to move on with our lives. And I can be her too for you, which is kind of like, I mean, we're still in the 80s. So this is the thing with women that are written for movies, is they're written to serve the man. Yeah. And that's what's happening here. So yeah, all of that, I could have done without. I feel with this movie, watching it again, I'm like, half of it I could have just like cut out and been perfectly fine. Doing it in a different way, just doing something else with it. What that is, I don't know. I'm not a writer, but definitely like only about half of this movie exists for me still, while the other half of it, I'm like, yeah, I can do without all this.
Well, and the other thing that I didn't think was that funny was, so when they are driving in the desert, when they're going through Arizona, and they are on the wrong road, and they jump that ramp, and so they're stuck in the desert for a little bit. They're lost. And that whole scene I thought was fine. And I like how Ellen stood up to Edna.
Yes.
And she's just
punch you in the nose.
Yes. and I liked just that whole scene. What I didn't like was when Clark is wandering through the desert, and he's like, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's not funny, and he like ends up seeing a skeleton or something, and it's just like, they could have cut that whole thing out. Like, that's not...
Yeah, because it's like the whole time he's like stumbling around, and it's clearly like they pulled Chevy Chase into the studio after the fact and were like, okay, voice this over now.
Yep.
Like, just punch it up or something. And he clearly didn't want to do it. Yeah. And so there was, it didn't play right.
No.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a part where I was like, I could skip this.
Yeah.
Go straight to him getting screwed over by the guys running the,
that was funny.
The shop that happens to be the sheriff.
What
would your sheriff think about your business practices?
It's
like, well, I am the sheriff.
Yeah. And then he's trying to get a hotel and
yeah.
like they're not wanting to like
get
his
his
credit
check or
card
whatever.
won't clear or whatever, and he steals the money out of the register.
Yes. And just slips the check in there.
Just takes off. So now he's like, he's an adulterer and he's a thief
Yep.
at this point. And then, you know, the other one we skipped over, which I guess he didn't do anything here, but like when they went to the corral to stay the night, and they've got those tents, and Edna's like, "Are you too cheap for a hotel, Clark?" And they go to that one tent, and Ellen's like, "Oh, this tent smells," and he's just like, "Edna, this is your tent."
Yep. Oh, clearly she doesn't care. She eats the wet on sandwiches. So whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one of the good deliveries.
Yeah.
This tent kind of smells. Edna, your tent. Just timing right there.
Yeah. No
Can't
thinking
beat that.
about it. It's just,
Nope.
we're just going to get this to Edna.
So yeah, Dodge City. That's where we kind of see where I think we kind of see that Rusty is picking up a lot of his dad's kind of bad behavior, like the way that they walk in and the sheriff introduces himself. He's being relatively friendly and everything, and they both just kind of blow him off and walk past him. But he's like holding, what is he holding out his hand like he wants to shake their hand? Like, say hi,
give me
greet him or
5,
something like
partner.
that. Yeah, give me 5, partner. That's what it was, and he just blows right past him because
Just
he was
blows
wearing
past
the
him.
wrong shoes or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I think is it so was the tents first or Dodge City? No, Dodge City was
Dodge City was
wasn't-
first because Edna.
Oh, it was the hotel they were trying to stay in with the checks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was after the tents.
That was
They
after
stayed in
the
the
tents. Yeah.
And then
so
went
they
and stayed
try to
there.
stay there, and then on the way after that, when they're driving, that's when they realize Edna's died
Yes.
in the car.
Yes. Yeah. Because we lost the dog after the tents.
Yeah.
And then we lose Edna on this, which they're staying. They can't be moved. They can't be going more than a few hours a day because they're stopping several times now. Before
They're stopping at everything because Ellen wants them in the beginning of the movie. She wants them to fly. And he's like, "No, we need to be able to enjoy our time with our kids, and we need to see all these sights, like, you know, while they're driving." He's like, "Who wants to go see the world's second largest ball of twine? It's only a short 4-hour drive from here."
4-hour drive. Or a mud hut. Let's go check out the mud hut.
Yeah, the mud hut. Yeah. So it's no wonder, like, you know, it takes them 2 weeks to get to
get
or is it
across the
3
country.
weeks? I can't
I
remember.
don't
It's a
know. I don't think
crazy
it's that
amount
long.
of
I think they had 10 days for their whole vacation, but they were going to be able to spend 3 at Wally World.
Yeah.
Is what he was saying. Like at this point, we've only got 3 days that we're going to be able to spend at Wally World or something like that. But yeah, then we lose Edna, and I'm not sure the process on when somebody dies, like in the car. I would assume you would have to like pull over, contact emergency services, and then let them handle it. I don't think you can leave it on somebody's back porch and just drive away. I imagine they're going to have several questions for you.
So that's the other thing. So he's a thief, he's an adulterer, and now he is should be
Handling a
charged
corpse.
with abandoning the abandonment of a corpse, which he ties her to the roof of the car. And then they just
Just
leave
wraps her in
her,
a blanket.
just leave her on that back porch. And of course, Alan and the kids don't want to do that, but he's like, "We got to get to Wally World.
We got a schedule. We got to keep up with."
Now, what is her cousin gonna say when he shows up
And his mom.
His mom is wrapped in a blanket on the patio,
Right? And if they wouldn't have left the note, they could have almost propped her up and left her there and just said that they left her there to wait for him. And then she passed while waiting.
That's true. Yeah.
I thought that's how that was going to go.
Yeah.
But no, they left a note saying what happened, and we never hear about that one again either.
No, we don't.
And then, like, pretty soon after that, we finally get to Wally World.
Yep.
Which they pull up, the parking lot's completely empty, and they can park anywhere they want. And he decides to park in the back of the parking lot so they can be the first ones out.
First ones to leave. What's that say?
Yes.
This is going to suck, so...
Yeah. We don't want to fight that traffic. I don't know. We, when we did Disney, we just stayed as long as we could. Enjoyed every bit of it. When it was time to finally leave, then we drive away. And it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But, Disney's got a whole thing for traffic and all that. And actually, I think we only drove there once. Every other time, we stayed close enough that we could walk to or get a ride to.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Anyways. So, they park and then they run up to the gates, and Wally World's closed for 3 weeks for cleaning and repair. Like,
in the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer.
Dude, what's this? Yeah.
But I mean, this is a time before internet, so how would they know? I mean, would you call ahead, I guess, and make sure that they're going to be opened? Or
if it's during the summer,
you would just show up?
You would. Yeah.
That's a thing that, like, I think we take for granted is, like, in the day, you would just show up at places, and they'd be open or they wouldn't be open, and you would have to adjust your schedule accordingly. Now we know ahead of time if it's going to be open or not, or if they're closed or out of business. I can't imagine driving cross country to go somewhere and it's closed.
It's closed.
Your final destination, the tent pole of your vacation is shut down.
It's shut down. Clark couldn't believe it either.
He snapped.
He snapped.
He fully snapped.
So he goes and gets a BB gun.
Well, it looks like a gun. We don't know what kind of gun.
The tag that's hanging off of it the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Did you notice?
I saw the little tag, but I just thought I didn't think anything of it.
He didn't take the tag off. What?
He tells that one guard, sit, stay, roll over. He treated me like a dog, sir.
Like a dog.
Yeah, and then they kidnap John Candy and go for a little fun around the park.
Now, was this one of John Candy's first big roles? I don't
think
know.
So. It might be. I don't know.
He looks, obviously younger in this than.
He was born in 1950, so he was 33. But I mean, 33. he was doing SCTV before all this.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that was I think that was his first big thing. I want to say.
Okay.
Was SCTV. But Vacation, 1983. He's got a credit there, but he's got. Oh, it's Stripes before that,
I'd forgotten about Stripes.
Yeah. 1941.
Okay. Yeah.
SCTV.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones. There's a lot of. I mean, there's a good dozen or two credits before you get to Vacation for him. Mm-hmm. Heavy Metal. I didn't know he was in Heavy Metal.
Huh.
Sure enough, he was in Heavy Metal.
I didn't know
all right. Huh. Man, Blues Brothers. Oh yeah, he's in Blues Brothers. Yeah. Yeah, small parts, but yeah. He was in the Ray Parker Jr. Ghostbusters music video, uncredited.
Really?
Go figure.
How about that?
I guess he did get in there. Well, we could do an entire podcast on John Candy. I love that.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Anyways. So yeah, Wally World. Kidnap the security guard and take him on all the rides. I like to get on the first ride, and it's just that little motor car slow thing going in a circle. And he's like, well, y'all are done. You ready to go? That's the end, right?
But he's telling the kids to hang on to the handrails. We don't want any accidents. Yeah.
We don't want any accidents. Yes.
In spite of being at gunpoint, he's worried about the kids' safety, and I appreciate that about it.
Absolutely. And then we see the SWAT team coming down on them, and we've gone on it, which they go on several rides while the SWAT team's getting kind of set up.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of funny. But they get on that last ride, and John Candy's had it. He's done. He's like no more. He's gonna get up and walk off. they're arguing over whether or not it's a real gun or a BB gun, and he ends up shooting John Candy in the butt with the BB gun to get him to sit back down. He's like, it is a real one and it'll hurt. And so John Candy sits down, they do the last ride. Then,
I like that argument they have, though, because he's like, now, Clark, we both know that's a BB gun. And he's like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. And he's like, well, even if it is, I could shoot you and it'll get under the skin and it'll cause a nasty infection.
Yes.
That's not true, Clark.
It's not true. It's not true.
It's not true. It's not true. Now, I liked
he shot him.
Yeah, he did. He did. I like the one ride that they're riding on, and he's up front with Rusty, and he's telling Rusty, you know, I don't ride this ride because it makes me sick. And as they're going down, like, Rusty puts his hand over his mouth.
I like right before it, like right after he tells them that and they're about to take off, and Rusty puts his hands up. He's like, no, don't do that. Put your hands down.
Yeah.
Like, he's worried.
Yeah.
He was worried the whole time for those poor kids.
Yeah, he was. He was. Yep.
And then we get our Roy Wally. Was his name Roy Wally?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's whatever the Disney knockoff. He's supposed to be Roy Wally or whatever.
Walt Disney. Yeah.
Yeah. So the SWAT team descends because I'm guessing the second security guard got up and called the cops.
Mm-hmm.
So they come down on him. They sent the SWAT team. Then they contacted Roy Wally and were like, "Hey, these loons have taken over your theme park. You know, do you want to come down and check it out?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll be right there." And so he gets out of the car and he's like, "Where are they at? Where are they at?" And they go, "It's them right there." And he goes, "They're not lunatics. They're not terrorists. That's a family." And he's like, "Yeah, all's forgiven." Which,
like,
it just seems
so
to be like
easily.
what happens every time. Yes.
But Clark asks him, because he's explaining everything, and he said, "Now, can you imagine if you would have taken your children down to Florida and it was closed?" Well, they don't close Florida. They don't close Florida. Well, I know. But can you imagine, like, wouldn't you have done the same thing? And he pauses and he's like, "No, I wouldn't have done this."
Yeah. That's the all of these movies. There's little adultery, a few felonies that are committed, and by the end, all is forgiven, and we return right back to status quo.
It's all fine.
It's all fine because that's the 80s. Everything's
That's how
wrapped up in an hour and a half or 98 minutes or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was Vacation. Not the most appropriate movie, but a lot of fun for those of us that were there.
But you know what? Like, we said this about RoboCop. Somehow we watched this movie as kids. Now that you're saying it, though, about it being on cable, I bet that's when we watched it, because I was surprised by the nudity that was in this movie on the rewatch. I was like, I didn't realize that was in the movie. And I
think
really
they cut around like the shower scenes, and then I remember the jumping into the pool one. They just blurred everything out. Like it just happened so quick, and they blurred it out. So we didn't really see that. But there was. I think the made for TV is what we were watching.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Version of it.
Had to have been. Yeah,
for sure. Which, I mean, like whenever you cut the nudity and some of the swearing out, it's just a PG-13 movie. It probably could have been a PG movie if they cut out, that whole Ferrari girl thing and a couple of swear words. I bet it would have been a PG movie. Yeah. Easily. 80s PG movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is
before
hard
the PG. This is before they added that 13.
Yeah. A year later, they would have added that after Gremlins, I think.
Yeah, it was 1 year later. Yeah, it's Gremlins. So, speaking of Gremlins, we already talked about that. Corey Feldman, we'd have him in as Rusty.
Oh, yeah. Yep, we would. Yep. We would. Right. And we would have him on the show if he ever wants to come on.
Anytime.
Yep.
All right, so any closing thoughts on Vacation?
It was a great rewatch. I was glad we rewatched it. It's definitely Not a kids movie. Definitely
Not aged
irreverent
well.
at times.
Aged well, but didn't age well.
Yeah, some of the comedy aged like milk. But yeah, I'm glad we watched it. I laughed in a lot of spots. Really, honestly, I felt like most of the really funny comedy was within the first 40 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was some funny parts, but it was really that up through when they went to Cousin Eddie's, I felt like that was all really solid comedy.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just kind of broken up into little bits.
Yeah, they're just kind of trying to wrap it all up.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked the rewatch, and it was good.
All right. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun. I kind of, I might go back and check out European Vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt I'll check out Vegas Vacation.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to Christmas Vacation this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes, we'll definitely do it. And, I was just thinking, too, how fitting it is that we're doing Vacation, because when this airs, it's
Vacation season.
vacation season. And
That's
I don't
right.
think
That
we
was my
planned
plan.
that. But
I planned it.
You planned it?
I planned
okay.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. You planned it.
So
Well,
we'll say out of the two, Vacation and Christmas Vacation,
Mm-hmm.
which was the better one?
Christmas Vacation is just a classic. It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I think it softens a lot of the edges that Vacation
does.
had that were a little too sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Smooths over some of that.
Yeah. I don't remember there being as much praise for European Vacation, but I would not
I
be
don't think there
opposed to
was.
going back and watching that one just to have kind of a complete view of the series, I guess.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that one next summer.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So I am thinking
All right.
for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and it's summer, or summer's upon us. I would like to watch one of my favorite summer movies, and that is The Sandlot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, give that a go.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's one movie that I think I've only ever seen pieces of. I don't think I've sat down and watched the whole thing, so that'll be fun. I've always heard good things.
Yeah.
Although I'm not a huge baseball fan, I will admit.
I don't think you have to be a baseball fan to enjoy it. It's very much a nostalgia trip, is what it is. It's the baseball is just kind of the glue that's holding everything together.
Yeah.
But it's and I think I'm going to see if the kids will watch it with me. Yes, I bet Bruce and Taylor would probably. Well, I don't know
Bruce,
if you've told
not Taylor.
Bruce would probably like it. Taylor might not. But anyway, yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I have watched that movie so many times. I loved it as a kid, and I'll still watch it once in a while now. But
Excellent.
Let's watch that. So
Let's do that.
your question that you posed to me.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
What is the best thing to? What was the best thing to bring on a long road trip as a kid?
My Game Boy.
Yeah, Game Boy.
Yep.
That was probably the best thing
Yep.
to bring on a
That
road trip as a kid.
Kept me
It was the
entertained
Game Boy
for long hours.
until I got my Discman, and then it was my Discman.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
because I started getting nauseous on the Game Boy after
sure.
short periods of time.
Sure.
The Discman allowed me to just close my eyes and let the time fly by.
Yep.
But yeah, Walkman or Game Boy. I can't do anything now. Like I get in the car, I can't sit passenger.
I can't.
It makes
either.
me nauseous to be on my phone or something.
I can sit passenger, but I can't. I can look out the window.
Oh yeah, I can look out the window.
And
I can't
I'll usually
read or anything
talk
like
with
that.
Mindy or something, but I can't read. I can't. If I'm looking at my phone, like if we're doing navigation, because if I'm driving passenger, I'm usually doing navigation if we're going somewhere, and I'll have to just look at it real quick and then put my phone back down.
Yep.
And, because I just.
It
And
makes
that's
me
like
nauseous.
rides too. I can't do
Yeah.
like if I was going to Wally World, Oh my gosh. Like, I'd be so sick on those rides. I just get motion sickness so bad anymore.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I get it too. That's why I say I can't sit passenger, because I get bored really quick because I can't do anything. So I'm just like, I'll drive, because it doesn't. That gives me something to do. I got the radio on, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, passenger, I get bored.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it goes.
All right, sign us out.
All right. Well, we've reached another checkpoint. My friends, my buddies, my amigos, sharing is caring, and reviews help a lot. So please leave us a review. We would love to hear what you think about the show. We love bringing it to you, and we really hope you're enjoying it. So until next time, be kind and rewind.
See you then.
This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.
So I'm looking at our Spotify analytics, and we've actually got 2 replies to our polls that we put up on a couple of the episodes.
Oh.
So they're the polls, so it's like you pick a thing, and we've only got 1 reply on each. So currently, these 2 replies have 100% of the vote. So if you don't like that, you can change that. If you go back to the Turtles episode that we did, which was our first episode, our first official episode, not the pre-episode, we finally got somebody that voted on who is your favorite turtle. Any guesses on who our podcast listeners' favorite turtle is with 100%?
Michelangelo.
It's Leonardo.
You're kidding me.
Leonardo,
Oh my gosh.
100%. So if y'all want to change that, cast your vote, change it. This poll's going to be open for the first. I've set all the polls to be open for 1 year after the episode drops. So for a year, we can get votes on these. We got another vote on the ET episode, which doesn't have, I gotta say, isn't our best episode. Like, it doesn't have a lot of views for as far as when it came out. It hasn't really captured as many views on average as all the other episodes have, which is kind of disappointing. But ET is not for everybody, sure. Yeah. Anyways, so I proposed the question: peanut butter M&Ms or Reese's Pieces? Which is your favorite? Care to take a guess on what people voted for? I left the options as peanut butter M&Ms, Reese's Pieces, or Smarties, because I'm difficult.
Peanut butter M&Ms.
Peanut butter M&Ms? Reese's Pieces with 100%
You're kidding
of the vote
me.
again.
What the heck? I'm done guessing.
So again, if you want to change, all these episodes have a poll or a question that is proposed. If you want to go on there and answer them, if you want to go on there and swing that poll, currently a lot of them have 0 votes, so you could be the 100% vote. So
we would love to hear what you guys are thinking, like on these polls and
send us an email too.
Yeah.
That's in the show notes. This podcast takes tokens, all one word, at gmail.com. Don't put the all one word in there. It's just this podcast takes tokens at gmail.com. But that's if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us or you can respond to one of these polls. But enjoy.